Good evening to you. For Telesur, I'm Regan Beans in Caracas, Venezuela. Here are this evening's headlines. The search continues for the Paris terrorists and the world stands in solidarity. Guerrilla group the ELN releases 2 Colombian soldiers. And protest action takes place in Washington over the controversial TPP trade deal. The details on these and other stories right now. Thank you so much for being here with us on From the South. 2 Colombian soldiers who were captured on October 26th by the leftist guerrilla National Liberation Army, or ELN, were handed over this Monday to a commission formed by representatives of the Catholic Church, the Ombudsman Office and the International Red Cross Committee. The release took place in a rural region of the Arauca department in eastern Colombia. Personnel of the International Red Cross Committee examined the 2 soldiers, and after verifying that they were in suitable physical conditions to travel, they were transferred in Red Cross vehicles to be delivered to the Colombian Army. The FARC guerrillas and the Colombian government are planning to extend a mine deactivation campaign. Now, the campaign, which has been running parallel to the Havana peace talks since May this year, has been successful in the area of El Orejon in the province of Antioquia, where soldiers and guerrillas have worked together to deactivate the mines. Given the success during this trial period, the campaign will now be extended to other areas around the country. However, concerns have been raised given that paramilitary forces around the area of El Orejon have tried to impede the efforts. A crucial televised debate took place in Argentina a week before the second-round presidential election will take place. Candidates Daniel Scioli and Mauricio Macri displayed completely divergent agendas and attacked the other's policies. While Scioli highlighted the importance of social services and public assets, Macri focused on change and opposed the current government. Scioli criticized Macri for promoting the privatization of basic social services during his time as the mayor of Buenos Aires and warned that regional integration is at stake. Furthermore, Scioli criticized Macri's proposal to devaluate the peso.
When you devaluate the peso, when you return funds, when you acquire more debt, the consequences are unemployment and inequality. This in turn generates violence. It's important to maintain stability and improve what needs to be improved. My compromise is with keeping employment levels safe.
Macri dodged the topic of a possible devaluation, instead sticking to his general theme of change.
Daniel, I've heard you say in recent days that Argentinians are scared. The ones who are scared are all of you, those who are governing, because you've abused power. You don't want to go back to the ordinary and lose the privileges. That's the real fear there is today. But not us. We are happy. We feel we have a huge opportunity.
Ese es el verdadero miedo que hay hoy. No nosotros estamos felices, sentimos que tenemos una enorme oportunidad.
Now our correspondent in Argentina, Leo Poblete Coduti, walked through the streets of Buenos Aires to gauge the people's reactions to a debate that smashed TV rating records.
Sunday night's presidential debate between Daniel Scioli and Mauricio Macri was broadcast across every free-to-air radio and television network. The ratings went through the roof. The debate attracted the same amount of TV viewers as last year's FIFA World Cup final, which featured the Argentine national team.
Behind the change Macri proposes, there is a big lie. The word change can easily motivate and build enthusiasm. But when you lift the veil of Macri's vision of change, what you see is this: free market, cutbacks, currency devaluations, indebatedness, and those CEOs of foreign corporations who he has as models in each of the fields that we have recuperated, in benefit of the interests of the Argentine people and our national sovereignty.
And so we go on with the lies. What can I say? The things you are saying are not true. I already said that we will not do any cutbacks, that we believe in the expansion of the economy, in growth. We will tell people the truth. Foreign investment will return. Employment will return. But look, I give up.
Argentina's monopolised mainstream media outlets, headed by the Clarín Group, a rabid opponent to the Front for Victory and Daniel Scioli, quickly said that the result of the debate was a draw.
They declared a draw at the crack of dawn in the morning edition of the papers, but only a few hours later on their online portals and their news TV channels, they created the perception that it was really Macri who had won. They took it a bit further.
It is very hard to detect how much of an impact Sunday night's debate will have in this weekend's runoff. In comments made to the local press this Monday, Daniel Scioli of the Front for Victory said that he believes that the debate was enlightening to many undecided and independent voters, and that despite the huge pro-Macri bias in the mainstream press, he is optimistic that the Argentine people will defend the country from a return to neoliberalism via the ballot box this weekend. Leo Politico-Dutti, Telesur, Buenos Aires.
Key local elections were held in Paraguay over the weekend in what was regarded as a test for the governing Colorado Party. The capital city of Asunción was the most disputed city and was won by the opposition leader Mario Ferreiro, marking the increasing rejection of the population towards the government of President Horacio Cartes. Furthermore, the governing party lost 13 out of 19 districts in the central province, where most of the country's population live. The new Asunción elected mayor dedicated his triumph to those most in need. This in an historic election that puts an end to over 20 years of right-wing hegemony.
I wanted to say thank you to you, because these humble inhabitants of Asunción are also the owners of the citizen victory. I want to leave this commitment. If we win for everybody, but especially for those most in need.
People in Brazil and Venezuela paid tribute this Sunday to the victims of Friday's deadly terror attacks in Paris. 3 Venezuelans and 2 Brazilians were wounded in the attacks that killed at least 129 people. Brazil's Planalto Palace and the headquarters of the Federation of State Industries of Sao Paulo were illuminated in the colors of the French flag. On a different matter, on Sunday, some demonstrators in Brasilia asked for the military to oust President Dilma Rousseff. They marched to the National Congress carrying an inflatable doll dressed in a military uniform with coffins representing Rousseff's death. Dilma Rousseff is currently facing a possible impeachment process. Democracy was re-established in Brazil in 1985 after 21 years of a dictatorship that left hundreds of people dead and disappeared.
We want all of them out. We want the military to intervene because that's the only way to get them out of power. They won't leave of their own will. We have to remove them once and for all and see if we can put a government in place that will get Brazil working again.
And on Saturday, between 200 to 300 topless protesters demonstrated in Rio against violence against women. With a woman killed every 2 hours, Brazil is the 5th deadliest country for women in the world. The march was organized by the Slut Walk movement, which targets the blaming of women for their own rape. The demonstration was also the second this week in Rio to protest new abortion restrictions proposed by the Conservative Speaker of the lower house in Congress, Eduardo Cunha.
We're in a political context that wants to get its hands on a uterus, and that's the idea of my performance. The hand of the state has our uterus and my body that doesn't belong to me anymore. It has become public territory that I can no longer control and where I can no longer decide anything.
Well, let me tell you what's coming up next. France's Eiffel Tower reopens and the search continues for the perpetrators of last week's terrorist attack. This story and more next.
nations. Nations are divided by borders and interests. These interests divide the news. We examine the impact of these divisions on people and power. This is Imaginary Lines. Watch it on telesurtv.net/English. Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there. A world infinitely connected. Millions of people instantaneously interacting. Experiences relayed in 144 characters. Millions of lives in every corner of the planet. They're not tweets, they're stories. Watch it on telesurtv.net/English. Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there. Rod Stars, G1, and Claudia de la Cruz are Rebel Diaz, hip-hop activists positioned within a history of political resistance through music. And you don't stop. They invite young people to express themselves about their social struggles. And you don't stop. Watch it on telesurtv.net/English. Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there.
Two explosions were heard on Monday in the Brussels neighborhood of Molenbeek, where police and other security forces are carrying out an unprecedented door-to-door search for Daesh militants after last Friday's Paris attacks. The explosions occurred during a major raid by Belgian police aimed at arresting Saleh Abdeslam, who was named by French police as a key suspect in the attacks. They came from one of the properties surrounded by the police. Police are yet to comment on what has been found during the raids. The need to destroy self-proclaimed Islamic State, also known as Daesh, is an issue that faces the whole of the international community. These were the words of French President François Hollande as he addressed the Parliament. The President announced new measures to fight terrorism, adding that France is at war with cowards. The Daesh attack last Friday claimed the lives of over 130 people in downtown Paris, which the group said was a retaliatory move against France's involvement in the bombings in Syria. Over the weekend, France carried out extensive airstrikes against IS targets in Syria. President Hollande said that his government will also increase funding for national security, strengthen anti-terror laws, and boost border controls. And France's Eiffel Tower finally reopened on Monday, and it did so in the colors of the national flag. The illumination will also include the defiant Latin slogan of Paris, Fluctuant nec mergotur, which, when translated, means it is buffeted by the waves, yet remains afloat. Many countries around the world also illuminated iconic structures in their respective cities in solidarity with the French people. NATO also says that it will provide whatever is needed or requested by political leaders to combat Daesh.
Well, NATO is, of course, already engaged in an operation, a major operation that is drawing down now, of course, in Afghanistan, which was prompted by the need to combat this sort of armed and violent extremism. You'll remember, of course, the origins of the operation in Afghanistan and the need to combat Al-Qaeda there. As regards ISIL, Daesh, we stand ready and determined to provide whatever is required from the NATO military authorities in support of any political decisions that might be made over the coming days, and we'll wait and see.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that he remains committed to his promise of withdrawing his country's jets from bombing Daesh targets in Syria. He said this while at the G20 summit in Turkey.
Bonjour tout le monde. Qui ne sera pas résolu à court terme. Pouvons travailler, accomplir énormément de choses.
Also at the G20 summit, US President Barack Obama, on the other hand, said that the coalition is intensifying its airstrikes in Syria, but will not change its strategy after last Friday's attacks in Paris, France. He said that gains were being made against the self-named Islamic State.
Good afternoon. Let me begin by thanking President Erdogan and the people of Antalya and Turkey for their outstanding work in The terrible events in Paris were obviously a terrible and sickening setback. Even as we grieve with our French friends, however, we can't lose sight that there has been progress being made. On the military front, our coalition is intensifying our airstrikes, more than 8,000 to date. We're taking out ISIL leaders, commanders, their killers. We've seen that when we have an effective partner on the ground, ISIL can and is pushed back.
Stop the TPP. Let's stop it. People over profits. And the people are rising, no more compromising. Those were the chants by demonstrators in Washington, D.C. as they call for an end to the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. One of the biggest arguments against the TPP trade deal is that it benefits the rich and powerful at the expense of the poor. And protests have been underway since last Saturday, and we understand will continue until Wednesday. For more on that, we now go to our correspondent Bianca Perez, who was at the march. Hi Bianca, it's great chatting with you. Can you tell us what's happening at the protests?
Hi Regan, how are you? Yes, as you mentioned, there have been actions happening since Saturday. This morning, there was a protest which began at around 8 a.m. They marched to the building in front of the U.S. Trade Representatives building, and they shut down the street. They were demanding that Congress listen to the people who actually put them in power and stop the TPP from actually happening. So after that, they had a whole day of meeting with different members of Congress. They were calling their representatives, letting them know how they, as the people that they are supposed to be representing, felt. And there was also a protest that happened beginning at 4:30 in front of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to shut down the TPP. These people are angry. They feel that, they are not being listened to, that only big corporations are being listened to, and so they are demanding an immediate stop to the TPP. They came from all over the United States to protest this. We saw different people, whether they were farmers from the agricultural sector. We saw people who are sick. We actually spoke with a victim of cancer who says that, her access to medicine will be affected by this. So there were people from all types of different industries that will be affected by this, and they just feel that they are not being heard by their government.
Now, as you said, that this trade deal would affect many people across the world, and we're seeing more and more of these protests happening across the globe. Do you think these will have any impact at all on an altering of the deal at all, or it being cancelled at all?
Well, certainly they're very hopeful about it. From speaking with different analysts, they see that it will be very difficult for Congress to actually shut this down. They're kind of divided on the subject, so maybe there's some hope, but they don't see, with the push from the Obama administration, analysts don't really feel that it'll be a very big impact that the protests will make. However, protesters feel that, they are the people and they want their voices to be heard, and they're hoping that in this 60-day period that Congress now has to review, they will, make some sort of change in their minds and some sort of impact.
Last question, Bianca. Have you been hearing anything from any of the presidential candidates about the TPP trade deal?
Yes, Regan, we've heard a few of them mention it about their campaign, but it hasn't been something that really has been one of the front-runner issues. As we know, there's been a lot of other issues that are currently in the upfront, like the Black Lives Matter movement and different subjects like immigration that have kind of taken over. So we haven't heard much in regards to the TPP. Some things here and there, but nothing concrete. So I wouldn't really say that they're really taking their positions on this.
That's really unfortunate, considering how important it is an issue for people around the world. Thanks so much, Bianca. We'll touch base with you another time. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Regan.
Moving on now, this Monday was a rewarding day for Palestinian prisoners who not only sat their general secondary school examinations, but finally graduated. For more on this great story, we now give you over to Telesur Noharazin.
Palestine's Committee of Detainees and Former Detainees organized Monday morning in the Gaza Strip a ceremony to honor Palestinian prisoners from the southern governorates who took their general secondary exams توجيهي in Israeli jails. The ceremony took place at the Commodore Hotel west of Gaza City. Relatives of the graduated detainees participated in the ceremony. Various leaders of the Palestinian national factions and freed prisoners also attended the event, aimed wide media presence.
My son was detained since August 2002. He has been in captivity for 14 years now. I'm so happy that my son wants to be educated. This was his only chance to improve his education.
For their part, the former Palestinian Prisoners Minister Hisham Abdelrazak and members of the committee handed over the parents of the graduated prisoners their children's توجيهي certificates on their behalf. The Palestinian Prisoners Club recently revealed that about 6,800 Palestinians, including women, children, leaders and politicians, are being held in Israeli jails. Some 500 of them under administrative detention. 1,000 others have been detained since the eruption of Jerusalem Intifada last October. Nur Harazin, Telesu TV, Gaza.
And now here's a brief look at other stories and other news stories across the world.
The new Polish cabinet observed a moment of silence for the victims of the recent attacks in Paris, France. This after the members of the new government were sworn in after winning the October 25th elections. They promised increased welfare spending, taxes on banks, and a firm stance against refugees and migrants. The World Health Organization said that the overuse and misuse of antibiotics is resulting in an increase in drug-resistant superbugs. The WHO referenced the fact that many people think it's fine to stop using antibiotics when they start feeling better, which they say contributes to the development of the bug's resistance to antibiotics. After her party's landslide election victory in legislative elections held last week, Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi has returned to parliament. Suu Kyi is constitutionally barred from top political office but has vowed to rule above the next president, whom she will select following her party's success at the polls. In Burundi, at least 4 people have been killed after attackers targeted a police post, killing 1 police officer and injuring another. Official sources reported that 3 others had been killed in different places within the capital's Mukaza district. Weeks after a foiled coup attempt in Burkina Faso, opposition candidate Benouene Sankara launched his campaign ahead of the November 29th elections. Sankara is a human rights lawyer and is a proponent of the former president's revolutionary ideology. Burkina's interim leader Michael Kafando says the election will be key to consolidate democracy.
Russia's sports minister Vitaly Mutko says that his ministry is neither involved nor could have known about doping within the country's athletics. This after the IAAF suspended the Russian Athletics Federation following allegations of widespread and state-sponsored doping. Some Russian athletes who have reportedly been following anti-doping rules were also suspended. Russia has announced a 3-month plan to deal with the situation to ensure that their athletes can partake in the 2016 Olympics. The 14th Annual International Balloon Festival in León, Mexico is working out to be a huge success this year. Over the course of 4 days, visitors can see some 200 hot air balloons of different shapes and sizes soaring over León Metropolitan Park. The festival will also feature musical performances, expositions, and family-oriented activities. And there is more on these and other stories on our website, telesurtv.net/English. And of course, you can join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for more as well. From our news teams in Quito, Ecuador, and here in Caracas, Venezuela, my name is Regan Deveens. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.